President Biden is headed to Italy for the G7 summit.
While there, he'll meet with the leaders of the world's most advanced economies, and he'll also meet with Pope Francis.
CBS News White House reporter Willie J. Inman is covering this for us. Willie, thanks for joining us. So tell us what the leaders plan to actually discuss at this week's summit.
Hey there, Errol and Lana. Good to be with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Well, President Biden has no shortage of things to talk with world leaders about. There are two wars that will likely be a main focus for the leaders as they move on into this summit, the war in Gaza and also the war in Ukraine. President Zelenskyy will be at the G7 summit. He'll, of course, meet with President Biden as well. But there are also pressing economic issues. The president has a little bit of wind at his back when it comes to the economy here as inflation cooled last month and the record jobs growth that he can talk about on the world stage. You also have the strong U.S. dollar as well. So on the economic front here at home, things look quite good, although inflation isn't where it needs to be. So the president, of course, is taking a hit when you look at public polling. But on the world stage, that's certainly something that he can talk about. And on top of that, there's increased economic ties between all of these powerful and wealthy nations on top of the military ties, as I discussed as well.
One of the goals of these types of meetings is to at least have the U.S. president walk away with something tangible, other than just kind of the diplomacy that's inherent. There is some reporting that Biden and Zelenskyy may actually sign a security agreement as part of the G7. Is there anything you can share on that front and tangible goals that Biden may walk away with?
Yeah, that's something that we can actually confirm. There was a briefing aboard Air Force One as it's en route to Italy where Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, confirmed that the two will sign this bilateral security agreement. Now, this was a promise, so to speak, last year to President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, who has forcefully said to not only Biden, but other world leaders that he wants to be a part of NATO. So this is a step forward, of course, in that direction, but not necessarily a full-fledged membership of NATO. It's just between the United States and Ukraine. I'll note that over a dozen other nations also have a similar agreement with Ukraine to continue to train its military, to provide military aid, more importantly, in its time of need. Now, this agreement with the United States and Ukraine will be for the next 10 years, but I'll note that it's on the executive level, and another president could come and undo this agreement. So it's not permanent in terms of a treaty or a NATO treaty, for example, in terms of the U.S. and Ukraine the U.S. being able to assist Ukraine. But still, nonetheless, it is a key and pivotal moment for that U.S.-Ukraine relationship where President Biden is seeking to send a signal not only to Russia but to the world that the United States will stand by democracies when they're attacked.
And Willie, while he's in Italy, he's going to pop over to the Vatican. What can you tell us about his planned visit?
Yeah, this is something that President Biden, a devout Catholic, I can bet, is looking forward to, having that one-on-one meeting with the Pope. We're told by a White House official that the Pope is participating in a session on artificial intelligence. Of course, that's become a really important tool in all of our lives with that recent announcement by Apple, of course, using artificial intelligence on its phone. So you can bet that the Pope will have something to say perhaps about artificial intelligence and how it has just expanded into our lives. But this relationship between the Pope and President Biden, a devout Catholic, it'll be interesting for us to see. That meeting is set to happen on Friday. I anticipate that the Pope will also discuss or at least speak out about the situation in Gaza and Ukraine, as he has continued to do when he has those public moments to speak to the press.
All right, quite a lot to look out for this week. Willie James Inman, thanks so much.
You bet.